What up, internet? What's going on? I think it's Tuesday. I can't be certain if it's Tuesday, though. I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Having a lovely, lovely Tuesday. I hope everybody else is having a fantastic day out there in the internet world. Good to see everybody. Let's check in on the chat real quickly. All right. Frank Dominguez is first one to the chat. Kevin Keener quickly followed up and is saying that we just don't get it. It seems to be a conspiracy that me and Frank Dominguez are the same guy. We are not the same guy. He is just so fast. I even put it in the chat that he's so freaking fast. I don't even I don't like open the chat at the same time. It's even to that point now. I don't even open the chat at the same. God, what the mic stand over here? I'm poking it. I'm poking the mic stand. It's me. But I don't open the chat at the same time. So I wish it was like like he just knew what was going on. But he might actually be in my attic. I'm actually kind of concerned now that he might actually be in my attic. Being the first to the chat on a regular basis, I'm not sure. He might actually be a weird ghost. I might actually have to meet him in person so that we can just prove that it's not me being Frank Dominguez. He's actually a guy, as far as I know. As far as I know, okay, let me clarify. As far as I know, he's not me. So, hopefully that clears it up a little bit, but he's just so fast. He's so fast. He's always first to the chat. I don't know how he does it. He's not always. He's been displaced a couple of times, but he's almost always first one to the chat. But Kevin Keener, our favorite bus driving, Beardy McBearderton, much love to you, brother. Sorry you came in second today. In third place, Sarah Konopko with the hello. How you doing? Good to see you. Cute Nick's coming in quick. And my back, you guys, my neck and my back are really killing me today. So if I'm doing weird like yoga moves over here, that's what it's all about. Just to let everybody know what's going on. Annie Confetti is here. Smutsig Disc is here. Mellow Moogle, Bracken, Biggies. Oh, Turbofish, how you doing? I don't know if anybody knows, but Turbofish and we went out for his birthday with his family, and Eric Gone Mad and Iris. We all went out for birthday dinner, and I just want to say a belated birthday, because maybe I didn't say it that day. Actually, I know I did, but either way, I wish it could be birthday dinner every day. Why can't it be birthday dinner every day? That was a lot of fun, and I want to go to other birthday parties, right? That's what I want to do. Birthday dinners. Donald Edwards is here. Good to see you. Wushu Jimmy Brown, how you doing? Saying I'm deep, live, and wearing flannel. It's actually not flannel. It's just a nice plaid. Durable, Western-style, snap-front work shirt, which is my favorite shirts to wear. Are the Western style with the snap buttons, right? You know what I'm talking about? These snap buttons. These are my favorite. These are my favorite style shirts with the Western cut shoulder. You know what I'm talking about? And they got the nice pockets. You got pockets that you can keep your doodly boops in and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? That's my favorite kind of shirt to wear. And I'll tell you, it's styling. You know, it's styling like an old guy styling, and that's pretty much my style. So you guys can't tell, I'm a total goofball today. I've been out in the shop, rambling around, doing all sorts of stuff. Today's show is actually, I titled it, Should All of Our Planted Aquariums Be Switched to LED with a question mark at the end of it? Because should come up to some kind of conclusion if we want to be switching it to LEDs or not. Let's talk about the ins and outs of some of the stuff today. That's what we're going to get to. Today's video segment is super freestyle, so you know, get your seasick medicine or whatever and get ready, because we're going to be using the whiteboard, which is kind of my favorite thing to do. I don't do it all the time because it's not as interactive on the XSplit as I would like it to be, because you have to constantly click and move around and go back and forth and all that kind of stuff to get it to work. So, but we're going to be doing that today, so strap yourselves in for a little haywire action. Get your lighting questions together, get them sorted out in your head. Feel free to post them on in the chat here, or either post them up on the Patreon, or you can go to Facebook and post them up there, and maybe I'll see them. I don't know. Hard pressed to say. Get a lot of notifications and things from the old face page. It's kind of confusing. It's one of the big reasons I've got Dark Star Arts. You could go over there and email me if you like, and I can definitely attend to you guys. Or I can attend. Not. I can't necessarily attend to you guys. What does that mean? What? I can't attend to you guys, but I can attend to the emails. I can definitely get back to emails, and oftentimes, if you're somebody who sends me an email, it normally kind of gets my little noodle here. My little noodle starts thinking like, maybe I should cover that in a show or something like that. So if you do have show topics or things that you'd like to go in length about, and maybe get some action shots of me, moving around with a camera and stuff like that to kind of show you some of the stuff that I work on and things along those lines, that is a great spot to do it. The Patreon is also a great spot to do it with other people chiming in. So, and then, the cool thing about Dark Star Arts, you don't have to, it's not something that you have to sign up for or any of that kind of stuff. If you have an email, it's probably going to work out for you if you have an email. So, hopefully that solves some of those issues for some of those people that were like, I don't, I'm 15, I can't sign up for that kind of stuff, this, that, the other thing. If you have an email address, you can get to me. You can get at me, holla at your boy via the internet styling of electronic mail. Let's say hi to a couple other people here as people are flooding in. The floodgates are open and people are coming in, so let me give a shout to Chris versus Fish, Michael Faulkner, Kyle Paith, what's up? Donald Edwards, Nathaniel John, Jim Meeker, Fishhead 2925, what's up? It's been a while. Daryl Dimers here. Dank Tanks he wanted to do an early stream today, but we didn't get enough comments yesterday on yesterday's video requesting today's early stream. So guess what I did? I hammered and nailed some stuff. I cut some lumber. I did some wonky stuff in the shop that you might get to see someday. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows if you'll ever get to see it or not? What was I doing? Who knows? Secrets. Secret surprises! Probably, if I had to gander a guess. BC Fish Room is here. Donnie Hill, Rabalcar. How you doing? All About DIY is here. Gabe W. Phil Emerson, what's up? Wyatt Ward, Little Newbie 69. I have a gold-plated aquarium and a ham radio. Nice. I like that. That's a nice way to do it. Travis Hemming is here. Mateo, Mateo. I'm just going to say Mateo. I can't say the 5001. I mean, I can, but I can't put the two together very well. Mateo, hello from Idaho. What's up, my brother? How you doing? I'm going to be out there sooner than later. I'm going to the mountain. I'm just going to go up to the top of the mountain and just start yelling. Ah! DJ Pride is here. Chris Fish Room, how you doing? Fish and Shrimp by Rich. Oh, right on. I've never seen Fish and Shrimp by Rich. Good to see you in the chat. Welcome to the weirdness. KG Cichlids is here. Bantam Cichlids, how you doing? Frank Dominguez says, a face-to-face meeting with 2 men enter and 1 man leaves is going to be like Thunderdome. Watch out. Jim Meeker, yeah, I gave up trying to beat Frank. Yep, he's always first to this. He's always first, almost always. Zach Hansen is here. Good to see you. Lagarathon. Oh, good morning from Australia. What's up, Australia? We need more Australia and New Zealand. I've set that up, that goal in my head. We need more Australia and New Zealanders here. So if you know anybody in Australia or New Zealand, go ahead and share this nonsense with them. We need more Australians and New Zealanders. I've decided it's important. I don't understand how we're ever going to get to go to New Zealand or Australia unless we have more Australian and New Zealand viewers. I mean, I know there's only 6 people in New Zealand, but we've only got 2 of them. One of them being Mr. Gillett, and the other one, a mystery secret. The zombie drummer is here. First time catching you live in a month. What's up? How you doing? You don't have to make it live, but it does make it helpful. It does make it a little more helpful if you do make it live. But if you don't make it live, like I said, there's easy ways to contact me and get a hold of me if you got questions and need answers, or maybe you have an idea you want a video made out of or something like that. One of the things on the Patreon that I failed to mention earlier is there is a producer spot on the Patreon if you are somebody who wants a dedicated, like, essentially a dedicated badass video to whatever you wanted made. There is a spot on there. There's 5 spots on there. I could really only commit to doing like 5 a month, but there's 5 spots on there. It's obviously it's a higher echelon, right? To become a producer of the show. It's a higher echelon, so maybe it's not open to everybody, but it is a possibility for somebody out there. And the other thing with the Patreon, we are halfway to our goal of getting a Dr. Strangefish video once a month, a live stream of Dr. Strangefish. So that is going to be what you call it. We're halfway there. How's it go? Whoa, we're halfway there. Wait, no, that's not right. That's not the right song. Oh, coffee, my favorite. But Jay's Aquatics is here. How you doing? Good to see you, Jay. Let's see. Bracken, I just got into the Planet Tank forum, and some people have shown me that LED aren't the best, as you can get more spectrum from fluorescent unless going to expensive LED. Okay. We'll definitely get to that for sure. Where's my little notepad thing? Oh, man. Where'd my notepad thing go? I used to have a notepad thing. Disappeared. Where's the notepad? Where did the thing go? I had a notepad thing. Oh my. Windows Update has destroyed the notepad. Where did the notepad go? What the heck? Huh. Well, it used to have a little notepad thing where I'd, like, leave stuff. But, it seems to have disappeared since yesterday. How odd. Well, either way. But Bracken, I'll definitely get to that one. We'll have to figure out... Where did all my stupid... Come on, man. What happened to the thingies? Oh, they seem to have disappeared. Oh, well, I'll just have to have a good memory today. Being wicked smart. Alright, it says plated, not planted. Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess I could fix that. I'll put an N in there. Check that out. There we go. My changes are being saved, and they're saved. Haha! Amazing! There we go. Zach Hansen, will Buenos Aires tetras do good in a tank with guppies and white cloud, or will they eat up? Please help. Buenos Aires tetras will definitely eat your guppies and your white cloud mountain minnows, or at least harass them to death with a murder style. They're pretty savage little boogers, but they'll definitely get those little Those little guys. I would just go guppies and white clouds. I wouldn't add the other one. I wouldn't add the Tetris. Nope. Not me. Let's see here. Plywood Pelicans here. And Michael Faulkner says, bro, saw the video. Hilarious. My wife walks in and she's like, what the hell are you watching? Hopefully you guys like those videos. Share them out to every person you've ever met in your entire life. I think that's how it works. Donnie Hill, I'm excited for today's show. I have LED T5 and halide lights lying around and not sure which way to go on the 220. Oh, let's definitely get it. We'll definitely get into that in just a minute. Kyle Pace says, what's a plated aquarium? Think you missed an N in the title? Yeah, I did. I missed an N in the title. Sorry. I'm not a robot, you guys. I'm a real human man. I make mistakes sometimes. Oh. That's right. Dang Tank says gold-plated aquariums. Yo, you never heard of them? Of course. I'm like any other one out there. I put my pants on I put my pants on 2 legs at a time. The only difference is once I got my pants on, I make gold-plated aquariums. More cowbell. Let's see. Schwisky Vision is here. The S Schwisky Vision. S Whiskey Vision. SW Hisky. SW Hisky Vision is here. Well, good to see you, Jimmy. How you doing? Aquarium Coop's in the chat. Look out. Look out for Corey from the Aquarium Coop. He's in the chat, lurking at any time. Let's see here. Let me catch up. When is the NICRU review coming out? Oh, yeah. I don't know when that's gonna happen. At least you have fast stuff on the west side. I have the fastest I can get, and it's only... Wait, what's going on? Flynn's Fish Forum, just stopping by for a moment. My dog had surgery today, and I want to be there to pick him up. Oh, hope your dog's doing all right. For sure. Oh, Eric Gone Mad's here. How you doing? Good to see you. Darn, that sucks. At least you have fast stuff on the west side. Let's see. Gone Mad was one of the best weekends of my life. Got to meet a ton of really awesome people and spend time with Joel. Couldn't have asked for anything else. Oh, man. You could have asked for something else. You could have asked for a gold-plated aquarium. That should count as a review. Yeah, I think that does kind of count as a review. Let's see. Let's see. Gone Mad burned the crap out of his thumb. He's becoming closer to being like me. Those are wondering, Gone Mad does a bunch of industrial welding type stuff, and he's always burning up his shirts and stuff. And now apparently he's decided to start burning up his fingers. Well, be careful over there and get yourself some of them good. I used to have them Thickster, like super thick welding gloves. I've got a pair in my shop. It seems like, you know, you should get some of those. That's what I would get. MJ Aquatics is here. Good to see you. All right, well, let's bust into some light action here and start talking about some of the opportunities that are out there as far as lights go. As you guys know, I'm sure most of you probably know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know the history. If you go way back in the day, the cool hipster lights that were out there were sodium I almost said sodium halides, but high pressure sodium. HPS lights. If you guys have never seen an HPS light, high pressure sodium. Essentially, if I was to give you a description of what a HPS sodium light looks like, they're like old street lights. You know those blasty street lights? That's what street lights were made out of a long time ago, and HPS lights were the dope jams. If you wanted to be super cool back in the day, and you'd be like, yeah, man, I got HPS lights. And that's what our boy Takahashi Amano started out using. He started out using HPS bulbs, and they do work fantastically well. They really do. Still to this day, they work great. I'm not 100% if they can even manufacture them anymore. You may or may not be buying old stock, with those bulbs. I'm not sure if they can continue to make those. I know that they can't make incandescent bulbs anymore, so you might be buying old stock. I would keep that in mind if you want to go into the high-pressure sodium. Some of the bad things about high-pressure sodiums, and this list goes on and on and on. Buying a bulb, buying a HPS bulb can be up to $150 if you're feeling froggy for the real fancy schmancy ones. They can run from 150 watts all the way up to like 2,000 watts, I believe, is the top end ones. Some seriously crazy industrial lighting, so stuff that you would see like at a the kind of lights that they would have on a mining operation, like they have a giant hole in the ground where, these big machineries going around, stuff like that. I think they have some that go all the way up to 20,000 watts or something crazy like that. Now, the big downside that comes along with a lot of that power, right? Giant ballasts that are these big clunky bricks. It's like maybe a half of a cinder block, right? The wiring connections on them are pretty janky unless you can get them completely eliminated from any kind of moisture or condensation or whatnot. They have a real strong tendency to corrode. The connections on them have a tendency to corrode when they get wet and stuff like that. A lot of it has to do with the extreme wattage that's running through those cables and stuff like that. And one of the big deals with them is they create a ton of heat, because they're essentially like a heater, basically. So that's also another issue that maybe in midwinter, like it is here up in Western Washington, where it's like, I think the high was 39 degrees or something like that today. You might be thinking, wow, I'm really going to save on heating, right, if you're going to use those. But then bear in mind that the other 10 months out of the year, it's going to be insanely hot in your fish room. It's going to be hot because they're been creating tons of heat and all that kind of stuff. And they're wildly hot. So throughout the year, you're going to be running into temperature fluctuations that are too high, which is pretty much the danger zone for any aquarium, aquarium type system, mainly because of how small our aquarium systems are in comparison to, nature for sure. And so expense is a big deal, heat is a big deal, and they use a ton of electricity. So every single month you're going to be, paying out the wazoo for how much your electric bill is getting chewed up. So a lot of downsides. The upside is they do work. They work incredibly well. But so many downsides that most people just started going, oh man, I'm going to sell these off and get rid of them and stuff like that. Because you do have to replace the bulbs. They're extremely costly when you replace the bulbs and stuff like that. If you start looking at HPS, and I would actually just kind of lump them into the same group as halides if you do look up halides and stuff like that. Excuse me. I would lump them all into the same group, that they have pretty much so much downside that it diminishes the upside. Because so like my 240, I would probably need 3 of them, and just to be generous, I would say I'd probably have to go with 3 400-watt bulbs to get a good spread over my 240. My 240-gallon aquarium's 8 foot long, to give you an idea. It's 2 foot by 2 foot by 8 foot. And it would probably take like 3 of those. Plus, the electric bill every month would be staggering, okay? If I had those 3 bulbs running over my 240, that's almost the entire use of electricity that is going on in my fish room right now. It would pretty much be just those 3 bulbs, and I'm talking about the pumps and the heaters and all that kind of stuff. It would be close. It would be close to it. It would start approaching like all of the electricity I'm using in the fish room, and then I would have to add everything else in on top of it. So that's one of the big reasons that a lot of people moved away from that technology and stuff like that. Plus, the bulbs being so expensive, oftentimes would get They would get moisture on them, they'd get corroded and all that kind of stuff, and even prematurely need to be replaced because they, like I said, they get super hot. If you splash a little bit of water on one, good chance it's gonna shatter when that happens. Not to mention that when you bump into the fixture just on a regular day, you could actually just snap the stem of it off, and kapoof, there goes $100 bulb. So it's a little bit stressful. It's a little bit stressful when that kind of stuff happens, and you do realize that you just basically were trying to do good, and a C note just went down the drain. Travis Hemming with the $5 super chat endorsing the weirdness. Thank you very much, Travis Hemming with the super chat. That's the first super chat of the week, you guys. First super chat of the week. Thank you, Travis. Very much appreciate it. It all goes right back into making more shows and doing more stuff. Breaking things with hammers and all that kind of nonsense, right? So, thank you very much. It's definitely appreciated. And I'm going to just put my appreciation face on. Feels good. Thank you. Let's see here. I would like to set up 2 10-gallon tanks with the same size plants and ferts, but just change the lighting to see which is best. KG Cichlids, I've done that quite a few times. I have done that quite a few times. And I'm going to scroll back up here so I can remember. Bracken, I just got into the Planet Tank forum, and some people have shown me that the LED aren't the best, as you can get more spectrum from fluorescent unless going to expensive LED. Okay, I want to answer this question before we move on to the next sort of lighting topic, right? And hopefully we'll probably end up with a lot of questions from people about halides and high pressure sodium and stuff like that, and we'll see. We'll answer those real quick. But I want to answer Bracken's question here. It really depends on what you're talking about with the high price LED, if that's what they're talking about. And it could be really problematic, realistically, that what would somebody's opinion be necessarily in regards to what people would consider an expensive LED, right? And I'll definitely go over that throughout the time here that we talk about lights and stuff today. I'll address the expensive part, hopefully bit by bit, as we move through a lot of the lighting scenarios and we start to add up some of the costs and stuff like that. Like I mentioned with the high pressure sodiums or the halides, those bulbs are so expensive. You can generally get the fixtures and stuff for free these days because most people are like, I just want this crap out of my garage. That is one of the upsides. You can find those fixtures cheap or free from a lot of people out there, but you are going to have to replace the bulbs, which is pretty costly realistically when you get down to it. So but we'll break a lot of that stuff down as we continue to go on. Oh, we've got another super chat from Michael Faulkner. That piece behind you is stellar. Keep up the great work. Who's the lady? I don't know. Those are just some weird freehand eyes that I drew one day. I don't know. I didn't really have like a thing. I've been an artist that has I have paintings out there that are just eyes. It's just like hundreds of eyes. I am ridiculous. I draw eyes all the time. If I just sit down and sketch stuff, I just start drawing eyeballs. I don't know what my problem is. I have some fixation. It's not asphyxiation. Fixation on drawing eyes for some reason. I do not know why. And Michael Faulkner, thank you very much for the super chat, my man. It all, like I said, it goes back into just making more shows. So if anybody's feeling super excited and you guys want to patronize or super chat or any of that kind of stuff, that's what it all goes towards. So that's what happens. That's what it's for. That's what it goes to. All about DIY. Mandatory evacuations. Air quality is poor at best. Burned down 50,000 acres. A lot of homes lost. Power was out for 8 hours. Tragedy still ongoing. That's the wildfires down there in California. My best wishes go out to all you guys. I don't know where that fire popped up from in December. It's pretty wild. I'm sorry to hear that fire is going on in California. I hope everyone's safe and doesn't get hurt. Houses can be replaced, all that kind of stuff. It's terrible. It's terrible to hear that's what's going on down there. And you know, I on top of it, even if I didn't know anybody that lived down there, I just hate to hear that kind of devastation and that kind of stuff. So hopefully you just stay safe, stay out of the fire zone if you can, and get out of there. Manny Corelio, hey Joel, hope all is well. Which would you use for a planted 8-gallon 12 by 12 by 12 cube? That's my favorite tank, by the way. I don't know if anybody caught any of the podcasts. We actually talked about this, Corey and I, a while ago on the podcast. Was my favorite nano tank. My favorite tank size is actually the 12-inch by 12-inch by 12-inch, those Fluval Ebbies. That I'm not sure that they make them anymore or not. It seemed to be confusing. But if I was going to plant a small tank like that, Manny, I would definitely the Phoenix lights have definitely got mixed reviews from a lot of people. I know that a lot of people have had good experience with either one, honestly. And on a tank that small, I wouldn't be super concerned with you know, blasting into the depths, because it's really not that deep of a tank. So I would say you'd probably be all right with the Stingray. I'm not sure what the price comparison is on those small ones. I think the Stingray is the cheaper of the two, and I would probably go that route. Mainly just to save a couple of bucks, because it not being that deep of a tank, it's not going to be super paramount to you know, spend the extra bucks, because you really are only going through, I mean, realistically, when you think about it, you're probably only going through 9 inches of water, which is going to be great. C-Town saying, I love the 24/7 Phoenix, and I've been using it for over a year. Yeah, I think in a tank that small, I don't think there's going to be a downside to either one. I know that a lot of people have said the Stingrays are good. I haven't used the Planet Plus myself. It's been a long time since I had a Stingray. I think they're on their, like, 3rd incarnation. I think this is, like, the 3rd styling of the Stingray. But I'm certainly not 100% certain on that. I just think that's what's going on. I don't follow the Phoenix lines all that much, but that being such a small tank, I realistically wouldn't be super concerned about, you know, realistically the depth of the tank is not going to be like a big problem. Gone Mad says it has a Planet Plus on 24/7. So yeah, maybe the Planet Plus would be the way to go. Mainly because of the timer and that kind of stuff. I would check. Oh, let's see. I'll look it up here. I'm gonna see the price difference on them. 12 inches. Planet Plus is $54 right now. Okay. And I think the Stingray is only 24 bucks. I think I saw that. Let's see, what size is that? Oh, that's the clip-on. Let me see here. 12-inch. $30. $29.99 from the Aquarium Co-op. So you could either go 55 bucks on Amazon for the Planet Plus, or you could go with the Stingray for $29.99 from the Coop, from the Aquarium Co-op. I think I would just go with the Stingray personally. With that shallow of a tank, I wouldn't be super concerned about it. And maybe the extra features like the moonlight and stuff. I never use the moonlight personally, so maybe that might be the best way to go. Lagarathon 1, so glad I got to catch this one live today. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Let's see. Okay. You should see it here. It's all crazy. Corvus, what's optional What is optimal par for most plants? We'll get to that as we move along. Let's see. But 80 for pretty much everything, if you actually have a par meter. Gary's Aquatics is here. What's up, dude? Same here. Power's on. All right. Although I only use LEDs, T5s are easily customizable to provide a better mix of color spectrum, and I feel provides slightly better growth environment for plants. Okay. And Gabe W. did the math. 1,000 watt, 12 hours a day in California is $135 a month. So every 2 months, you would get a $270 bill plus all the other stuff. So that surely adds up. That surely adds up by the end of the year. Let's see here. I use an off-brand like Beamwork. Rod S, check out the current first place winner of the ADA Dutch style tank. He uses 6-bulb T5 high output fixture. Yeah, we're definitely going to get to T5s, T8s, T12s, all of those in probably right now, actually. So, having moved on from the halides and the high pressure sodium and stuff like that, the next thing that started coming up was T12. T12 bulbs. So if you're talking about fluorescent lighting, there are a lot of advantages to fluorescent lighting and a lot of disadvantages also. And we're going to run through a lot of those here as best I can, kind of freeform, and talk to you about them. First thing to understand about the fluorescent bulbs is the sizing, okay? So T12 is about yay big, T8's about yay big, T5's about yay big, and T2 is like really tiny. T2s are generally only ever used under like above ovens and stuff like that, lighting and stuff. So don't worry about that stuff, but T5 is generally what's used now. But the first thing that came out was T12s. T12s came out and they were fantastic, mainly because when we were switching over from halides and all that kind of nonsense, we realized it was so much easier to hook up and run with T12s. At the time, they were considerably cheaper, and we could change the bulbs a lot. We could change them around a lot. And they really started dumping light pretty well once they actually had reflectors on them and stuff like that. Initially, they didn't have a lot of reflectors on them, and people were just installing them over their tanks and not necessarily getting what they wanted out of them, because they were, like I said, a lot of people were moving from halides and high pressure sodium and that kind of stuff. And what's the hold on a second, what's this? All right, there. Stop doing that. They didn't have reflectors on them, and so a lot of people were going, "Oh man, these suck." So, what a lot of people, not unlike myself, started making aluminum reflectors behind them, and then eventually the company started picking up, "Oh, wait a minute, we need to add reflectors to these." So they started falling in line with that. Now, T12s do not put out a lot of light, just for the amount of use, or the amount of watts that they're using and stuff like along those lines. And what ended up happening was a lot of people started running out of space. Well, they started coming up with T8s were the next innovation. They were skinnier, and they just pack them full of more gas, realistically, is what they're doing. So they get a higher reactivity inside of it, and they can actually use thicker glass because it's a smaller gauge, right? Instead of being this big, it's this big. They can use a little bit thicker glass. It can handle a little bit higher pressure. So moving up to the T8s, which I'm still a fan of T8s and T5s personally, but we're going to get into why I don't. When we get to the video segment, we'll get into why I'm swapping out all of my stuff from T5s and stuff, and why I'm willing to do that at this point. Okay, but once they moved up to the T8s and the T5s, like I said, they're actually using a smaller diameter tubes, so they actually use thicker glass on them, so they're able to just basically just get more gas inside of there, and they react better. And then with the reflector behind them, they do dump a lot of light, and the versatility behind them is one of the biggest selling points realistically. As I forget who mentioned it in the chat up here earlier. We're just talking about it, and my little squirrel brain over here ran off of it. Rod S was saying was talking about that, and Tom Barr is one of the guys that I talked to about lighting for years and years and years. He's a big fan of T5 still to this day. Similar to what the AGA Dutch style winner, because you can put a whole bunch of T5s into your fixture and get a real big mixture of light spectrum from them. So, and why is that important? Well, we do probably have to talk a little bit about what some light spectrum type stuff to a certain degree. We obviously don't have enough time to like give anybody a master course on exactly what's going on, but I can give you some of the breakdown and stuff like that. So when they talk about PAR, what are they talking about? They're talking about photosynthetic, what is it? Photosynthetic active radiation or something like that. Photosynthetic active radiation is what the PAR stands for. Or photosynthetically active radiation. Yeah. Photosynthetically, I think, is what it is. Yeah. So when they're talking about PAR, that's what they're talking about. And essentially what they're talking about is usable light so that your plants can create the photosynthetic process, right? Photosynthesis is where, to really dumb it down, they're taking the energy of the light, using the energy of that light to combine it with carbon and some other kind of, whether it be iron or potassium or anything along those lines. It's going to take the energy of the light, combine it with that carbon and say potassium to start creating the parts of the plants that want to go. That's how plants gather their energy and stuff like that, to really dumb it down. Now the PAR reading, when you read it with the PAR meter, it's going to give you a number. And what does that number mean? Right? So that's one of the biggest issues that a lot of people, even when they get a PAR meter out, then they go, okay, wait a minute. What does this mean? It's essentially giving you a number of how much light is basically landing wherever you have the sensor. And oftentimes those meters are used in agriculture and whatnot to try and figure out essentially like the what's the word here? It's like where it comes from is that where the investors come in, the banker guys and stuff can come in and figure out like what kind of light is essentially landing. It's like that's like where it came from, is that if you're going like, hey man, I'm gonna grow me some sorghum, right? And so the bank guys would show up and go like, well, what kind of light exposure does this land have if we're going to give you $100,000 or whatever the number is to go grow this sorghum? That's where the PAR meter got popularized and stuff like that. And then eventually they got waterproof ones and started sticking them underwater to try and figure out what's going on under the water. As I said earlier, if you do happen to have a PAR meter, the number that you're looking for is like 80 is good. 80 to 120 at your substrate, right? So all the way into the depth of your tank is going to be the number that essentially that you're looking for. And what that correlates to is just how much actual light is reaching the bottom. Now, the big question is what usable light is hitting the bottom. So that's the kind of stuff that you really need to start taking into account if somebody is giving you numbers, right? Now, one of the biggest issues that I have, for instance, with the T5s and things of those nature is that they work fantastically in shallower tanks. Now, the reason for that is that a lot of the wavelength of the light gets filtered out by, guess what? Water. So if you have a tank that is, for instance, 12 inches deep, 16 inches deep, along those lines, it's not going to be a huge problem because there's not enough water in the way to really filter out that light. So what I've found with T5s and stuff like that, for instance, in my 30-inch tank, the usable light that is getting to the plants, now that means it's in the spectrum from the 400 nanometer up to the 700 nanometer, is not necessarily getting to the plants at the substrate. Now, oftentimes, as plants grow up and reach up tall enough, then they'd start growing healthier up here. But the usable light wasn't necessarily getting to the substrate, right? Oh, and man, it's been like 45 minutes. I'm just rambling on here like a psycho. Oh, well, all right. But that was typically the biggest problem that I had with T12s and T5s as I moved into bigger tanks. So T5s, T12s, I would always recommend people to use them on anything shallower than, say, 20 inches. Anything deeper than 20 inches, I would definitely move on to LEDs. I don't think it's necessarily worth it cost-wise for the LED unless you're already in the budget, if hopefully if that like sort of makes sense. So sort of like how and I want to say Miguel, that might be the wrong name. I want to double check. Where did that go? Where did it go? Uh-oh, I lost it. I think it was Miguel. Is going to be setting up that 12 by 12 tank, and he wants to have something nice and clean like an LED over the top. It's not going to be a huge investment for him because it's going to be, what, $30, which isn't a crazy number. We're not talking about some of the Reef LEDs that run $900 a piece, or, for instance, the Kessel lights that run about $300 a piece, and like my 240 gallon aquarium would need like 5 Kessels over it, which is like $1,500, which is like a down payment on a new truck. So you can see how the kind of ins and outs, right, is that you're going to have to figure out what your budget is and what you're looking to do. So even on a smaller tank, that LED could be worthwhile because you have like a small nano tank. You want this real crisp, clean kind of deal. And trying to find tiny T5s that go over a 12-inch tank is going to be more nonsense than it's really worth. Now, and the reason I mention that is because one of the big reasons that I'm moving away from T5s is the nonsense involved with T5s, right? A lot of the nonsense that I have to personally deal with is either ordering a bunch of light bulbs, right? I have to order a bunch of fluorescent light bulbs, get them ordered in, have them shipped, have them sent here in a box, and have them sent out, right? Or I need to go to an I was going to say aquaponic. I have to go to like a hydroponic store where people are like growing pot and stuff like that and try and find the right bulbs there, which more often than not are knockoffs. So they're not the nice expensive ones that we know are going to be the legit ones that we're looking for, right? And I also have to spend all the time to do that. So let's say I make $10 an hour, right? Like just throw a number out there. And it takes me 3 hours plus gas money to go drive around and find bulbs that I'm going to purchase with money, all right? And then I purchase those and they're $12.99 plus tax, so call them $15 a piece. That's $45. And if I was running all T5s in my room, I would need 4 over the 150 and I would need 8 over the 240. So you start to add that up, then you start going, okay, so I need 12 bulbs and they're $15 a piece. So that's 150 plus 30. So $180 plus my $30 that I would have made was I was driving around. So you're talking about a $200 thing to swap the lights out, right? And, you know, so then you start to think, okay, wait a minute. And it's going to be $200. And how often do I need to change the bulbs? Realistically, on T5s, you start to lose the par that you want. Now, the reason I'm saying you start to lose par is that the chemical inside the T5, the fluorescent bulb, starts to wear out, essentially. Starts to send off different spectrum of light and that kind of stuff, and need to be swapped out about every 6 months. So if I start to add that up and go, okay, over a year, right, and I got to swap all my bulbs out, it's going to be at least $400 just for these 2 tanks, right, over the year. So then I start to think, okay, what's going to be a better option, right? And how much electricity do those use? Also, so we could add that up over the whole entire year, and then start to think about, okay, well, what's realistically the benefit here? What's the benefit that that T5s are bringing? Potentially better growth or something like that. Potentially, if we're talking about certain people that have AGA award-winning tanks and that kind of stuff. But in my experience, it's not necessarily going to be like all that much better. It's certainly not going to be the hassle and the headache of constantly ordering bulbs or holding onto a bunch of stock of bulbs and that kind of stuff. Plus, they aren't waterproof, and they aren't controllable like the LEDs that I'm running now, which are the Fluval Planted Plus 2.0 doobity-doos, right? Now, at the time when I was considering all this kind of stuff from on my 30-inch tall planted aquarium was, okay, what's a cheaper way to get some LEDs out, or look, get some cheaper LEDs? What are some of the things that I could do? And I believe I talked about this yesterday or maybe last week sometime, but how there are some other options that people might want to go down that road. So I did make some videos about this in the past, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today. And that would be, for instance, if you have some of these old T5 fixtures, like this one right here, and you guys can see me turn it off, and I'm going to try and pause it right there. So as you can see here, this is actually a old T5, whoops, hey man, I got to turn the whiteboard on before I start writing on it. So this is actually an old T5 fixture hanging from my ceiling out here. So with some of the old lights that I did, I went ahead and got some of these retrofit kits, which actually this light bulb just goes right into the fixture like it used to, or like the old bulbs used to, except there's LEDs throughout the length of it, right? I don't like this red color on the whiteboard. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, here we go, yellow, right? So those LEDs you can see are in a tube that just actually plug right into the fixture. So this is something that people, honestly, if you have a bunch of T5, T8 fixtures out there, this is something that I would definitely look, this is definitely something I would look into if you were trying to basically save a couple of bucks and not buy a whole new fixture, because you might have some old fixtures like I do lying around. And you want to get some use out of them, but you don't want to waste a bunch of electricity. As you guys know from the Goofy video I made earlier this week on Saturday, talking about lights in my shop. I actually do have quite a few lights in my shop. I was actually just making a joke about cutting my finger off because it was dark in there, but this is a real option that could save a lot of people money if you happen to have these old fixtures around. Some of these retrofit bulbs could or couldn't be a good way to go. Now, I've made some videos about these in the past. These are actually LEDs that are what are called a GU10 bulb, is what these are called. And I actually made a bunch of hoods and retrofit kits and stuff like that. As you guys can see, the lights that are actually underneath the 150 lighting up the sumps, lighting up most of my sumps, are actually these GU10 bulbs that are actually working out fantastically well. The one thing I would say that is a downside on these is that they're not waterproof, and you will have a tendency to kind of burn them out, kind of damage them, and those kinds of things as they get wetter and wetter and wetter. They really aren't designed to be in any kind of humid, moist environment. So that's definitely one of the downsides with these. But this is a much cheaper way to go than buying a fixture. Now, the light fixtures that I have in the fish room right now, those Fluval Planet Plus, they're the 48-inch versions, and they're about $200 a piece. So it's not something that most people would necessarily run out and go buy. But I honestly think it was well worth it to no longer be messing around with driving around to go get bulbs or trying to find a sale online to order bulbs or any of that kind of stuff, and it just continuing to cost money over and over and over again. I'm actually saving a lot of money on electricity. It's not a ton, obviously, but as you can see here in the video, I have some of the old T5 and T8 fixtures. They're not garbage. I'm going to utilize them for some other projects, though, that I got ongoing, because I'm going to actually adapt these with the LED retrofit bulbs that go in here, and I'm going to use these in the greenhouse later on at a later date, so that Vicky will be able to have a all year round growing situation, which they'll actually run off of a solar panel once they're upgraded to the T5s, right? Or sorry, upgraded to the LED retrofit bulbs, and we'll be able to just run them off of a solar panel and be able to maintain 12 hours of daylight a day, which is really our goal, which right now in Western Washington we don't have. It's only about 7 hours. It's only about 7 hours to it's only about 7 hours to of daylight right now, so that's one of those things that is to bear in mind, honestly. So let me get to the chat here a little bit. I don't want to necessarily be let's see here. I kind of ran off track and turned this into a whole rambling live stream here, and I don't want to make it get too weird or anything like that. Mad Cypress LL, word to your mom. Oh, that's pretty good. So let me run through the chat here and try and answer some of this chat. Let's see. Mateo saying I use an off-brand Beams work. It definitely likes that. $5 to $7 cheaper. Okay, that's definitely good. Aquaman was asking, when is the scheduled reef day for the show? Actually, tomorrow will be reef day. Thursday is the normal reef day, right? But I will be elsewhere. I will not be here to talk about the reef. So, tomorrow is actually going to be the reef day. I'm going to be hammering and drilling and doing a bunch of super fun hardscape stuff in a reef. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, that will be coming up tomorrow. And I'll actually be up I'll be up northbound down, loaded up and trucking in my busted truck that's been crashed into, and word up to my crappy insurance company out there. But I'll be up north, and we'll be doing some of that. So we'll be doing some of the Real Fish Talk stuff with Corey on Thursday, so I would look out for that. I don't know if it's going to be live or not, who knows, but that's what's going on. So tomorrow will actually be reef stuff, and then Thursday will be probably at the coop, unless I have an aneurysm or something, which seems possible with how I'm rambling on today. It might be happening. Let's see. Thoughts on Kelvin. What do I prefer? What do I prefer? Well, one of the cool things now with, for instance, like the Fluval Planet Plus here, they're actually dumping out a couple different spectrums of light. And one of the big reasons one of the easy, so I was about to say big reasons, but one of the easy ways to check in on that is when you tone down these lights, actually my camera starts registering these wavy lines, and the reason for that is that it's picking up all the spectrums. Basically, it's just the camera is able to pick it up, and it starts creating all these wavy lines in the stuff until you jump it up to full power, right? But that's actually one of the cool things about the Fluval light here, about the stingrays and stuff like that. It's not just one LED. Nowadays, you can see that there's a lot of mixture of LEDs that are going in, so you're not really only getting one spectrum. Basically, the two spots that you're looking for is 440 nanometers and then 680, I think, is the other nanometer range. Those two peaks are what you're looking for. Those are the usable radiation for typical plant. What's the word? I lost it. I lost the word. What's the word? Photosynthesis. Oh man, brain fart. But those are the two that you're looking for, so that's what I would be looking as a recommendation. So if you were going into some of the hydroponic equipment and things like that, normally you'll find the nanometer reading on them. Those are the two that you're looking for, is 440 and 680. Is the two that you're looking for plant growth. So realistically, when we get to the Kelvin, if it's 6500K or 10,000K or any of that kind of stuff, it doesn't necessarily help all that much, except for the fact that 6500K is actually like daylight, is what it's emulating, is essentially emulating daylight at noon or whatever is what it's supposed to be emulating. So that's what I would bear in mind, is that you're actually looking for the nanometer reading, not the Kelvin reading these days, especially when you're talking about LED versus fluorescent bulbs. Fluorescent bulbs you can generally go off of if something is 6000K, 6500K, it's probably going to be right in the range where it's going to work out for you pretty well. Somebody, I forget who it was, I think Jim Meeker mentioned that they have 30-watt floodlights. Yep. I was the guy who, I'm not the only guy, but I was one of the early guys that was doing those floodlights back in the day. I think like 5-6 years ago. I was like, man, look at these floodlights, they're bitching. And I will warn everybody that those super cheap floodlights are realistically going to be a big time problem. They burn out, they have issues. You better learn some wiring, and you better figure out Chinese wiring versus American wiring, because the colors are not the same. So it may or may not be an issue for you. I don't know. A lot of people freak out about wiring. More often than not, they don't come pre-wired. So, let's see. Jim Meeker used to fix radars. A light plug shouldn't be a problem. Oh, he's actually talking about the light plug thing. And Steven Scoglin's actually talking about it. Just be careful which ones you buy. Some of the plugs and some don't. I got the ones that don't. I have to put a plug on it. Yep. That's just to me, it's not a hardship to put a plug or do the wiring. That's well within my wheelhouse. The only problem is that's an additional cost. If you get a light that there's no way to plug it in, now you got to go get some kind of plug-in thing. If there was so the cheapest way that I could tell you to go get a plug-in would be to go to like the Goodwill or something. If you have a Goodwill or Salvation Army or something along those lines, Value Village, whatever the secondhand store is. Oftentimes, if you go to the electronic area, you can find a bunch of old power cords from computers. You can actually just cut the end off and use that as the as your plug. Basically, you can wire those in, but those still cost money, and you got to go get them and stuff like that. So, and it does take time to wire it in. So, even if it takes 20 minutes, it's still 20 minutes that you could be doing something else. That's better. So let me catch up on some of the question here. 2 Phoenix Stingrays on a 33 long, medium, or high light is from Dank Tanks. I would say 2 Stingrays on a 33 long is gonna be a lot of light. Those 33 longs, I forget how tall they are. Maybe they're 12 inches tall. How long is a 33? Oh, what are the dimensions? I'm gonna find the dimensions here real quick. Let's see. What happened? Oh, I poked something over there. 33 long. Where are you? 48 1/4 by 12 3/4 by 12. Yeah, so they're only like 12 inches tall. 2 Stingrays on that thing would be
a ton of light, and you'd probably end up battling algae more than anything. I would think one would be sufficient. I personally wouldn't go with two, but you can if you like. It would be intensely high light. So let's see. Next topic: how insurance is a ripoff. Yeah, it's problematic, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point. Might be the issue I'm having with my Crips and Anubius. Yeah, that could be overpowering. Deck tanks, you could be overpowering. Definitely Crips and Anubius don't need a ton of light. For sure, Anubius do not need a ton of light. Crips will generally adapt to higher light situations, especially like... hold on, let me see in the video here if I can't pause it. Let me see. Right there. Oh, man. That didn't come out that good. Move around video. Let's see. Right about there. Okay. Obviously, that's pretty terrible still, but we can enable the whiteboard. So you can see here, these crypts right here, how they're starting to grow real dark. Essentially, they'll sprout bright green like this. Bright green, bright green, bright green. When they sprout, they'll eventually develop this really nice dark coloring with this kind of veins and marbling in it that I think is amazing under a more higher light situation like this 150 right here. This 150 just has the one Planet Plus on it, and it is jamming enough light into this tank that I would certainly consider it medium high light, I think, with some nice shadowed areas, which is, I think, another big benefit. See if I can't pause this at a better spot. Yeah. Let me see. Let me engage the whiteboard. Okay. Whoops. Gotta clear it. Hold on. Clear the whiteboard. Okay. So it's coming in real bright right here, and then right in this region here, you can see that dark coloring starting to come in. And that's what I'm looking for. It's one of the reasons that I put my Crips under a little bit higher light, not totally crazy or anything like that, but that's the real coloring that I'm looking for, that real deep, fancy schmancy kind of stuff. Obviously, we didn't cover every single thing in this video in regards to lights. You know, I honestly, I probably have to make like a produced video where I don't get the option to just ramble on about nonsense. But if you are somebody who enjoys this rambling nonsense and maybe trying to get, maybe garner a little bit of knowledge or something along those lines, and maybe you learned something here today, maybe you be one of those homies. Maybe you be one of those homies out there. Like, wait, where'd this thing go? Restore chat. There we go. We'll put the chat back over there. Like Travis Hemming and Michael Faulkner with the super chats today. Michael Faulkner. Thank you very much for the super chats, you guys. Like I said, it all's going to go back into just creating more shows and more videos and sharing some knowledge and experience and things that have happened to me in the past and things that hopefully coming up in the future. And maybe we won't just be completely stagnant. But we do have 2 new Patreons. We lost some, we gained some, and why is this stupid thing not loading properly? As you guys saw, the Patreons running by in the video segment there. We do have a new video segment for the patronizers coming out because I've got the finalized from last month, so I'll be able to do that. We had some people leave and some people come brand new, like Sarah's Little Fish coming in on December 1st. Jamil Mohammed with a new Patreon patronizer. Donnie Hill's a brand new patronizer, totally digging it, and Adam D coming in big with the $5. Definitely dig that too. So, like I said, I didn't get to everybody's question or any of that kind of stuff, and a lot of people have brought up, "Hey man, I can't be patronizing. I'm not on the Patreon. I can't do the Patreon." You can always head over to darkstararts.com and my email address is there. You can email me and just email away. You can email with your emails, if you know what I'm saying. So that would be a great way to do it. Maybe if you're somebody that can't maybe if you're somebody that can't, you know, be a Patreon or something along those lines. That is the free and cheap and super easy way to do it. The super easiest way to do it is to come on here and chat it up in the chat. I do my best to answer your guys' questions and things along those lines. But like I said, if you're one of those people that are like, look, I can't do any of that kind of stuff. I'm not somebody who's going to just be like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Everybody's in their own position in this world, and I'm definitely not the one to be judging, right? Being a dude who's been through some hardships myself, I fully understand it, and so it's not. That's the thing, but that's the free way to do it, is to go to darkstararts.com and you know, then you could just email me, because the emailing's free and all that kind of stuff. Mateo's still lurking, and I'm gonna run through and see if I can't bust up anything out of the chat here real quick, in case anybody needs anything answered. Kylo Mikthos is here. First time turning into a Corvus only live stream. I dig it. Right on. Thanks, Kylo. Good to see you coming in. He's the guy who always comments in bold, and I'm not really sure how he does it. It's very interesting though. Kylos is or Kylo Mikthos, aka Filthy Casual. It's a super long name too, but I'm not sure how he always does that bold. He does that bold comments. Kind of funny. And he seems like a funny guy or gal. I don't have an answer for that. And so let me see. I'm not really seeing any questions that were really all that super duper duper. Okay. Looks pretty much like, I don't know, I got to some of it. Bantam Ciclet says, oh, a large problem with budget-friendly LED lights, Beamworks, Aquanet, NICRU is the lack of the UL rating, and the supposed story goes as if it burns your house down, the insurance company can deny you. That actually is a real good point here, is that a lot of those super cheap LEDs that come out, just like those LED floodlights from China, they often aren't UL rated. And one of the big deals with that is testing to whether or not it will be will it be a problematic with the driver or any of the chips that are going in there. That is realistically where they cheap out on. Sometimes they don't cheap out on the LEDs, but they actually do cheap out on the interworkings of the LED itself. And more often than not, that's why they burn out and or try to burn your house down, catch on fire, which is really problematic if your house does catch on fire and burn down and you're in it, or maybe you're not in it. Maybe you get out. Then you end up having to deal with insurance companies, which is nonsense that I'm having to deal with on my own personal level here in just regards to my cheapo truck. So the last thing I'd want to do is have my house burned down and then deal with the insurance people, because they won't even return my calls. And if I had to be living outside in the cold right now, waiting for them to call me back, I would not be very cool with that. So I would look into, if you are going to buy a new LED or a T5 or any of that kind of stuff, I would definitely check to make sure it is UL rated, and for sure it be legitimate and maybe not just stamped on the box. I have seen that before, but make sure it does have a legitimate UL rating. You can look that up on online nowadays with the on the NEC.gov webpage, I believe, which is the National Electric Code.gov, which is where you'd want to be really looking. Let's see here. Dave's Nanotanks. The Coral Reef community has been going LED T5 combos and calling them hybrids. Are you guys seeing that as well? Dave's Nanotanks. Yes, I have seen a lot of people going hybrid style with the LEDs and then throwing in a couple of T5s. So that might be a reasonable option if But I would bear in mind that you want to be using the T5s as your midday setting. So you wouldn't necessarily want the T5s to be on the whole entire day. You might only want to be using them for about 2 hours out of the day. And that would definitely, allow that bulb to last longer and generally save you a little bit of money. But most of the reef guys are just kind of using those for the midday sun kind of 2 hour period. It's sometimes 3 hour, but that's going to be kind of the midday sun setting is what you're looking for. And one of the big problems with the T5s that I have is that if they do take time to warm up and that kind of stuff, which isn't really that big of a deal nowadays with the good drivers that are actually out there. But I would remember if you are going to do a kind of a hybrid setup with both lights, that I would keep that in mind. Jeff's Aquarium Hobby Equipment. Okay, what does UL rating stand for? You know what? Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's the UL list mark. UL listing means that UL has tested representative examples of a product and determined that it meets UL's requirements. I forget what it means, but I know that it's just like the universal stamp that you get when it comes to America. I don't know like the basis behind it, but I do know that what they're looking for is a fault failure of 1 to 10,000, right? And or better is what they're looking for. So if they're testing something, that basically means that 1 out of 10,000 or less are going to operate properly. So it does take a bit of money for a company to do the UL testing, obviously, because you have to test a whole bunch of them in order to get that. But I feel that's also a responsibility that the company should take if they're going to be producing a product, especially something that's like electronic, could be suspended over water, in a house made out of wood and drywall, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's pretty important. I don't know exactly what the UL part stands for. I don't know what it means. A clear explanation of UL's various product certifications. I don't know what the UL means. What does the UL mean? I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out by tomorrow's show, and then we'll talk about it. But I do know that it's the American standard, essentially, for safety. Right, is that one out of every 10,000 or better is the failing mark. But Jeff's Aquarium Hobby Enjoyment is saying, okay, so it's essentially like an approval rating. Yes, that's essentially what it is. That UL mark is essentially that they've tested it and it generally doesn't fail and accidentally murder people. You know, that's basically what it comes down to. Tropical Aquariums NZ. I'm guessing New Zealand. All right, Tropical Aquariums, New Zealand. You got to spread the word to New Zealanders that this is the most awesome show you've ever seen in your entire life, and they must get on board because they're from New Zealand, right? New Zealand, Australia, that's the goal, right? Sorry, I've just been joking about that recently. Steel Nebula recognized component mark issued by Underwriters Laboratories. That's what it means. The UL means Underwriters Laboratories. There we go. There it is. Underwriter Laboratories. There we go. Underwriters Lab. Yes. Right on, Barbara. Barbara coming in. Bulletproof plants for discus tank at 86 degrees. Nubius, for sure. Let's see here. Okay. All right. We're coming up on the end of the show. It's been an hour and 18 minutes, guys. I got to go. It's definitely got to that point. I got to go help. I got to go put together some dinner and get ready and all that kind of stuff. I know that it went by super fast. I know that it's probably inspired a lot of questions. If people have been sitting here till the end, I highly encourage you to comment on the video, send me an email, or ask some questions, and we can go more in depth on some of the lights and stuff like that. I do know that this hour went by super fast, and we're going to have to get into more and more and more of this kind of stuff. So let's definitely, if I missed some of your questions or any kind of stuff, come back and throw them in as a comment, or head over to Dark Star Arts and you can throw me an email. You can send me an email, and I'll try to get to them as the next week goes by. And Jay's Aquatics keeps saying, what's up? You either got to post a question. You can't just keep saying my name. All right. We're going to get to the end of the stream here. What's for dinner? Food. Long grain rice, meat, vegetables. All right. Later. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. One of these days, I'll find this button.